that being said, let me introduce who we have on the panel today. First, we have Linda Young, Associate Director of Admissions, University of Wisconsin South. Heather Pearson, International Admissions, University of Wisconsin La Crosse. And Paul Gedlinski, Director of Admissions, University of Wisconsin Oshkosh. On behalf of Navigate 2020 event sponsors, Go to College Fairs, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our panelists. Thank you so much again for taking the time to present, and I pass it along to you all, so enjoy.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining our session. We're really excited to present to you today. So our session is what I need to know about transferring from a community college to a four-year institution. And you already were introduced to us. I will just add that the three of us have worked together in the University of Wisconsin system for over 20 years, and we've both helped thousands and thousands of transfer students through the process. And we've also all been really active with making statewide changes so that transferring is even easier for students. So we care very deeply about the transfer student experience, and we hope that that passion and the expertise we have will really benefit you as you consider whether this might be a good option for you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Paul Gedlinski. Before I begin, I want to preface that everything that we are about to share is based upon our professional experience working in the University of Wisconsin system. And the schools that you may be looking at transferring to may have different requirements or different processes. And you will notice throughout our presentation that we encourage you to contact those schools to see what those processes are. But based upon our experience, I wanted to share with you the role of a transfer counselor. So the transfer counselor is an admissions counselor, the person who will talk to you about what their school is like, what do they have to offer you, and not only just academics, but student groups and clubs, activities, organizations. Then on the academic side, what majors does that school offer? They'd be able to have that information for you as well. And then most importantly, how do I apply and what's the process? So there's an admission process, and usually what happens is a school will have an application, perhaps an application fee. Coming from a community college and being a transfer student is a little bit different than applying as a new freshman. In that you will probably have to supply your official high school transcript from your graduation, as well as providing an official transcript from the community college that you are attending, plus any other college coursework that you may have completed. So some of you may have completed college courses while in high school. So you would need to provide an official transcript from every school that you had ever earned credit from. Also in that process is once you're admitted, what's the orientation process like? That will be varied and different across campuses. So you definitely want to work with your admissions counselor to see what that process is for your school. And then the transfer of credit. So the courses that you are taking at your community college will in some way match up to courses that you will need to take at the four-year institution that you are looking at completing your bachelor's degree. So through that transfer credit process, you'll be able to see how those courses match up to the degree that you're going to be seeking. Now, as a transfer counselor, there are additional roles that we have that may not necessarily fit with that traditional admission counselor role. So as a transfer counselor, because you are bringing in transfer credit from another institution, your transfer counselor will usually act as your initial academic advisor. So the transfer counselor should have some idea of how courses transfer, and more importantly, where those courses fit into your program. So they can kind of help you with that pre-admission advising. we can act as an advocate for you. Sometimes schools have certain equivalencies that have already been determined, usually by their faculty. But if you are transferring and a course doesn't transfer as you thought it might or should, or perhaps it comes in just as an elective course and not matching course-to-course equivalence, you can work with your transfer counselor, and that person can help advocate with the faculty or whoever makes those equivalency decisions to help plead your case and get you headed in the right direction with your degree program. Sometimes we have to act as that authority figure. There are times in my history of working with transfer students where I've worked with students that were maybe not very serious in their early years at their community college in transfer. And as they're getting ready to transfer to my four-year institution, we had to have that talk of what is it that you want? Where do you want to go? You know, if you're interested in a particular program that has a GPA requirement, are you even able to meet that GPA requirement? So as a transfer counselor, we're going to have that talk with you, because what we want for you is to be successful when you do transfer. And if you want a particular program and you are not meeting those standards for that program, we're going to have that talk before you transfer. We're a coach, we're a motivator, we're a cheerleader. We want you to be successful, and we want you to be successful at our school. So we are going to work with you to help you get to where you want to be.
So as you transition into your two-year institution, starting out there, do you know what major you're interested in? Or do you have an idea of the area that you're interested in? So you will look at the possibility of, does the two-year school have an articulation agreement with the four-year institution you're interested in transferring to? Or do they offer advising guides? Or do they offer pathways? And there are some systems that have different names for very similar guides, is what they really all are. They're guides to help you know what to take at the two-year school to transition then to the four-year school. Articulation agreements are typically specific major to major. So the two-year degree specific to a four-year degree. The advising guides can be similar in that they're specific major to major, or they may be more general. So it's a general education advising guide based on the major that you're interested in. And then pathways tend to more follow the career cluster. So if you're familiar with those, so you've got your technology, your STEM, your education, those types of pathways is how it guides you through that. So as you think about those things, as you think about your major, consider these things. Are you interested in a specific major, or are you interested in, do you know what cluster area? Do you know you want to go into an area of business, but maybe the four-year institution you want to go to has some separated out business or management related programs? Does the two-year institution that you're at have a transfer center? Nowadays, most of them do, and they've got great resources there that you really should look into. They're going to have information on the different institutions. They may even, if it's within the state or a close state, like if you are going to a two-year school that's on the border of another state, they're sometimes very aware of some of those majors at four-year institutions in the other state. Contact those people. They're going to be the best people to start with, but then don't forget to also reach out to the four-year advisor, because they're going to know more specifically for that institution what things you need to take. And referencing back what Paul talked about with the, in case you need that advocate, hang on to your syllabi in the courses that you're taking at your two-year institution. You may be looking at transferring to a school in another state, maybe several states away, and they haven't looked at much of the syllabi yet from that institution. And so you need to make sure that hanging on to that syllabus, you can provide the information that institution needs to really make the appropriate decision for you.
All right, so as we are looking at transferring requires some extra work on your part. Starting out at a community college is a great way to start your academic career. So I'm going to age myself a little bit here, not that my face already doesn't do that, but I started at a community college in the fall of 1982, and I decided I was going to transfer then in the spring of 1984. Being in the 1980s, computers were not really a thing at that time, so we didn't have a lot of the technology that you have available today. So I sat down with my academic advisor at my community college. I let him know what school I was interested in transferring to, and he pulled out the course book for that particular school and gave me a general idea of how things would transfer. And then I just started that process. And I went in kind of on a wing and a prayer, hoping that things were going to transfer properly and they were going to fit into the program that I was going into. Now, transferring today in comparison is it's easier in that you have those transfer tools available. All schools have some sort of student information system. So the school that you're looking at transferring to, what they usually have is they have a database of schools that they usually transfer courses from. And they build that database to show the courses from that particular institution and how they transfer into their institution. So in the upper left, I have some information from our Oshkosh transfer information system. So it shows how courses transfer from one school to another. It's a little bulky in that, you know, as you're looking it up, you can look up one course at a time or a number of courses based upon department. Then in the bottom right is information from the UW system maintains what's called the Transfer Information System. And the Transfer Information System is a database maintained by
Hi, Paul.
Yes.
I'm so sorry to cut you off shortly. We seem to be having some technical difficulties with the presentation itself. Many people are reporting seeing a black screen right now. Heather,
I am too.
Heather, are you sharing the screen currently?
Yes.
Would you mind just kind of restarting the presentation to see if we can resolve this issue?
Sure, let me do a stop share and a share screen.
I apologize, everyone. Just bear with us. The virtually doing sessions, sometimes this can occur. So, so sorry about that. And I'm sorry to cut you off, Paul, as well.
That's all right.
Okay, Alex, I just stopped screen sharing and started sharing again. So it's on the slide that Paul was talking about with transferology and the other credits. Are you seeing that?
Not currently, no. Could you exit maybe the program and or if Linda and Paul, if you have the slides available, would you mind attempting to share these as well? Once again, everybody, apologize about the technical difficulties. We will be right with you.
Linda, do you have it?
Yeah, I do.
Good.
Let me.
Okay, I'll stop screen sharing.
All right. And Linda, let us know when you're ready for us to share your screen. Oop, there we go. Okay. right.
We're all set?
All set. I
Okay.
apologize again about the delay, and you may continue. Sorry about that.
No problem. So again, in the upper left corner is information from our home-built transfer equivalency system, affectionately called OTIS, the Oshkosh Transfer Information System. And you can look up by school and then by department as to what those equivalencies will be, and it will just list those courses for you. Then in the bottom right, that's our transfer wizard. So that's part of the UW system. The University of Wisconsin system maintains a database of equivalencies. And all those equivalencies are based upon information that the individual schools send out. And they maintain that database. And students can look up courses and find out how they transfer. It'll mention if they fulfill any sort of general education requirement. So it's a little bit more robust than what we have built in our public-facing database on our site. The one issue with that transfer information system through UW system is you can only look up really one course at a time or by department. So there's really no shopping cart or anything associated with that. So because of that, the UW system has gone ahead, and we are going to be utilizing Transferology, which is a product that many schools use. And as you're looking at other institutions, they may use this same sort of product. And what's nice about this one is you create an account, you can enter all of your courses, those courses stay there, you can see all of those courses and how they transfer. So it's a wonderful way for you to see how courses will transfer and help you with that planning that is really going to be required of you as you move forward. Again, you work with your academic advisors on campus to make that plan happen. Some schools will have those transfer guides that Linda talked about that will show you the types of courses that you need to take for a particular major that you are pursuing. So just plan ahead. I can't stress that enough, that being a transfer student requires that little bit of extra work for you. But if you plan ahead and you work with the school that you are eventually going to, and you get the information that you need, you can make this as easy as possible for yourself.
So speaking of planning ahead, when you're looking at the major you plan to go to, there are different components to the degree. At the two-year institution, you're typically going to see general education and you're going to see your major courses. When you get to a four-year degree, it's going to be a little bit broader. So when you talk about general education, you're going to have general education, but then the major you plan to go into may have additional general education requirements. And that's really going to vary depending upon the institution. When you're looking at English and math, for example, some schools consider those competencies, and you may have met the competency for either area based on your ACT or SAT scores if you scored a certain level. Or they may be actual credit requirements that have to be completed to make up the total credits needed for that major. So something to be very aware of. And depending upon the major, if there are specific gen ed requirements, you need to make sure that you aren't taking the wrong gen ed at your two-year institution. That can get tricky in some majors as well. The other components of the major then are going to be, and the majority of the requirements are going to be your professional or major studies. The professional studies are going to be more applicable to, like, if you're going into an education major. So the courses that teach you how to teach and all the components of that. The majors or studies are going to be your more specific, like the engineering or your business detailed courses. Then the major may also offer an emphasis or concentration that you have to choose from. And then there's the question of a minor. Do I have to have a minor? Maybe. It depends upon the major. And so it's really, it can get complicated. So know what you're interested in. Minimally the cluster area. So look, some schools' websites have really good information when it goes into talking about the different clusters and where things lie, and good definitions for the different majors. So even just knowing the cluster area that you're interested in is going to help you make strides towards making the right decisions at that two-year institution. But there are people, there are tools, use them. That's really what's going to help you in the end.
All right, we're going to talk about some of the ways where you afford college. And we know that one of the reasons you might choose to attend a community college is because you want to save money. You know that tuition there may be significantly less than at a four-year institution. And so you think, I'll stay close to home, I'll enroll at the local community or technical college, and I will complete my general education. So that's actually a very smart idea. When you apply to your community college, one option will be to complete a form called the FAFSA. And you might have already heard this term. It's the free application for federal student aid. It's a government-based application. So when you fill it out, you're submitting information about your own financial situation as well as that of your family. And it's allowing the institution to look at how much you should be able to for education. And then based on that, how much they should fill in with financial aid. Your federal financial aid is primarily need-based, and it will be in the form of federal loans, so low-interest loans from the government that you repay after you graduate, federal grants, money that you're given that doesn't have to be repaid, and the federal work-study program, your ability to have a job on campus that helps cover the cost of your education. So first of all, we put the address on there for FAFSA, and note that it ends in gov, not in .com, not in .net. There are other sites that are out there that might make you think you're completing a FAFSA, but really it's another type of financial aid that isn't necessarily what you're trying to apply for. Keep in mind, it's a free application to submit. So even if you're thinking, I don't really know if I'm going to get any financial aid, it's a free form to submit. And based on submitting that, you get the answer from your college about any financial aid available. You can always choose to accept it or to decline it. One thing to know about the financial aid, so you'll receive it at your community college based on the cost of the community college. But then when you transfer to the four-year university, you might be wondering, does my financial aid transfer with me? And the answer to that is no, it doesn't. Each university determines its own financial aid. But what you will do then is you'll log into your FAFSA account, you'll add a code for the school that you're planning to transfer to, and then that school will review your information and create a new financial aid award for you. This is actually a good thing, even though you have to do that extra step of going in and entering that school's code, because you might find that the cost of the university you're going to attend is twice as much as your community college, or maybe even more than that. So you're going to need more financial aid to attend that institution. So often you'll find that while they're still looking at the same information, you might have access to more student loans or maybe additional grant money, things like that. So that will really help you. I would say for most students, cost is one of their strongest concerns. And so as you and your family are trying to navigate submitting the FAFSA and figuring out kind of those parts of affording based on your need, reach out to the financial aid office at the university that you're hoping to transfer to, because just like Paul talked about transfer admissions counselors, we have financial aid counselors, and their goal is to help you understand the form you're filling out, to make sure you're filling it out correctly. And if you get your financial aid award and you're thinking, this helps, but this is just not enough, they can help you think of ways to maybe increase the money that you have for college. So remember that those financial aid counselors are always good go-tos. So in addition to the need-based financial aid, you should also look at merit scholarships. You know, you're working really hard to get your university education completed, you're earning good grades, you're involved in things, and the good news is that isn't only beneficial for your education, but it can result in scholarship opportunities. So first of all, many of the institutions you'll consider transferring to will offer scholarships to incoming transfer students. So just like for incoming first-year students, there's a whole array of scholarships. They're often different scholarships, but transfer students are often eligible to apply for scholarships as well. So what I recommend is looking at your institution's website and seeing if they advertise any transfer scholarships. It's also a great thing to reach out to your transfer admissions counselor, and in addition to those questions about transferring credits and all those things, ask them what kind of scholarship opportunities are available. When can I apply for these transfer scholarships? How much are they? What are the criteria you're going to be looking at? In addition to that, there are 2 honor societies to be aware of. One is Phi Theta Kappa. That's an honor society specific to community colleges. Now, not all community colleges will participate in this honor society, but if the community college you choose offers it, it's something to consider joining. In addition to the other characteristics that they'll give you of being in an honor society, they have a scholarship program, so they will have an opportunity for you to apply for scholarships through them. Additionally, some of the 4-year universities that you will transfer to set aside scholarships specifically for students in that honor society. So that's a really strong thing to consider. Additionally, once you transfer to your university, some universities will participate in Tau Sigma. That's an honor society at 4-year institutions specifically for transfer students. So that can be beneficial because it connects you with other transfer students. It values your experience as a transfer student. It includes a lot of leadership and service activities, but it also often includes a scholarship program for transfer students. In addition to this, there are things called foundation scholarships. So typically foundation is the entity at universities that holds their scholarship money. So when alumni make donations or corporations make donations, it goes into the foundation and then it's distributed through scholarship money. So these are sometimes available for you initially as a transfer student coming in. You can apply for them right away. Sometimes they might be scholarships that are available after a semester or a year at your 4-year university, but still good to keep in mind. These scholarships are often based on the major and minor that you're pursuing. So for example, if you're majoring in psychology, you might look within foundation scholarships specifically for psychology and see, oh, I can apply for this scholarship when I'm a junior. I can apply for this scholarship because I'm focusing on behavioral psychology. You'll see how you can apply for those. You might also have specific characteristics based on who you are. You might be a military veteran, a multicultural student, a returning adult student, a member of the LGBTQ+ community, or many other characteristics where a scholarship has specifically been designated for individuals with those characteristics. And then they might also be based on different types of involvement, maybe high impact practices like collaborative research or study abroad, leadership experience that you have, involvement in arts, music, theater, areas like that. So a lot of foundation-based scholarships. Now a lot of the ones I've talked about are based on the institution you're attending, but I also recommend look for community-based scholarships. So think about the different touch points that you have, perhaps your employer or a family member's employer. Are you involved in a local organization? Are you involved with a church or a faith-based group? Anything like that may be an entity that offers scholarships for students. It's not uncommon for those types of scholarships to receive very few applications because a lot of students just aren't aware of them and they think that there must be a lot of applications when they do find out about them. In reality, sometimes those scholarships go unawarded because they didn't get an application for them. So definitely look within your local resources as well. And then finally, scholarship search sites. So you'll find different sites where you can just search for databases of scholarships that are sometimes numbering in the thousands. So it can be a little overwhelming, but can also make you aware of some good scholarship opportunities. One thing to always keep in mind is a scholarship search site should be free. So if you are on a scholarship search site and it says something like, pay $100 for access to thousands of dollars of scholarships, that isn't a site that we recommend pursuing because you should be able to access that information free of charge. So as you can see through need-based financial aid and merit-based financial aid and scholarships, there are a lot of ways where you can both afford the tuition that you'll pay at your community college, but especially once you transfer to your 4-year university and those costs suddenly increase, there's a lot of ways where you can find that financial assistance that you'll need.
I didn't have a recent version of the PowerPoint, so.
That's okay. So
we're used to winging it, right?
Yeah. I wrote one, but I apologize to everybody watching that you got a black screen instead of my beautiful closing slide here. Really what we all wanted to say to you, first of all, is thank you for attending our session. Obviously for us, we've spent a majority of our career working with transfer students, and so we really see the benefit in considering the transfer student option, whether it's a desire to stay closer to home, and live at home to save money on tuition, or so many other factors that get taken into account. We hope that for many of you who are watching this session, you're considering it, and that the information we've shared has helped you see how it can become a reality. Our hope is that as you leave this session, you can think tangibly, okay, these are the questions I need to find answers to, these are the things I need to explore, and these are the people who are going to help me with it. And we just wish you success. I think for each of us, we would say we are in this profession because we believe in the power and the value of higher education. And if your path is to start at a 2-year community college and graduate from a 4-year university, that is a great path to getting both the education that you want and the experience for employment that you want. And so we wish you success as you pursue this option. And do either of you want to add anything to that?
I think you covered it very well.
Well, thanks, thanks, Linda and Paul. All right, well, we hope you've enjoyed our presentation, and we want to jump into some questions here. And we know that you've been providing a lot of questions. Alex, should we just go into our FAQs, or have there been other questions that have risen to the top?
So we do have plenty of questions, but I suggest that we start with the FAQs. I do have a copy of them here in front. Oh, you have them right there. So you can go ahead and just run through the FAQs, and then afterwards, I'll go ahead and add some additional questions.
So does there have to be an articulation agreement, advising guide, pathway in place between the 2-year community college and the 4-year college so my credits will transfer? No, you don't have to know what major you want to go into, but as we've all said, work with the advisor at the 2-year institution. The 2-year institutions are going to have advisors. They should, most all have transfer centers now, so search them out.
All right, will my financial aid transfer to my new college? So financial aid itself does not transfer from institution to institution. However, we will all view the same information through your FAFSA, your free application for federal student aid. So when you get ready to transfer, you'll actually log into your FAFSA account. You'll enter the school code for the school that you're transferring to, and then they will put together a new financial aid award. You should find that it continues to be proportional. So if you were getting a certain amount of loans and grants and things like that, you should find that if your financial situation stayed the same, it will likely just take into account the additional cost of the tuition at the new institution. So it might increase, but it will still definitely be proportional.
Do I have to have a minor? No, you don't have to. When you get to the 4-year institution, what I do recommend you do is consider the major that you are in. Sometimes majors have automatic or almost automatic minors built in. For example, at the university I work at, we have an applied math and computer science major, and students basically get an automatic computer science minor. They just have to complete the paperwork. We have another major that has, we are retail merchandising major that students only need to take one additional course and they can get a business minor. And so looking at those avenues, and most advisors that you would have at the 4-year institution would know that as well. If I complete a 2-year associate degree, will I only have 2 years left to complete a bachelor's degree? Maybe, sometimes, it depends. It's really one of those things where you have to investigate it from the beginning. If you know the major and you follow that pathway, if you pay attention, if you're staying in touch with the 4-year institution, it's very possible. It really depends upon the major that you're going into at the other institution and how deep you can get into maybe some of the requirements at the 2-year institution. Will all of your credits transfer?
Maybe.
Usually. Sometimes. Most of the time, yes. Any college level credit that you complete at a 2-year institution should transfer to the 4-year institution. Again, it depends upon the courses that you take, but most times, yes. General education is general education, but depending upon the major, if you have some specific courses required, again, depending upon the degree, they'll transfer, but they may not apply to the degree program. So you'll have the earned credits, but you'll still have the additional time to degree because not everything fits in the holes that they need to be.
And this all goes back to really working with the school that you are transferring to and finding out what their requirements are and then how those requirements fit in with the courses being offered at your community college. Because doing that planning ahead of time, you're going to save yourself a lot of heartache if those courses don't transfer or don't fit into the places that they need to. And you're going to save yourself a lot of money in the long run as well, because if you're able to take courses at a community college at less cost, and then transfer those courses, and those courses fit in perfectly with what you need to do for that bachelor's degree, then you're all the better for it.
Will my grades transfer? This depends upon the institution. Some four-year institutions, when you see your transcript, it has a row for resident credit, transfer credit, and then cumulative credit. Some institutions, the one I'm at, we don't do that on our transcripts, but we do factor those grades that transfer in at the end when it's time to graduate to determine graduation with honors. And so that's going to vary from baccalaureate institution to baccalaureate institution.
Additional to that, sometimes those grades may count for admission to programs. So for example, at one of my previous institutions, we did transfer the grades in, but those were also then used for admission to competitive programs like nursing, education, etc. And so for a student who did really well, that helped them get into their program. But for some students who had maybe a little bit lower GPA, but completed a lot of the courses, they then found that they weren't able to apply into that major because of certain GPA requirements. So asking that question of both how your credits transfer and then how they're used in different decisions at the university is also really important as you transfer.
And the grades are also considered when it comes to prerequisite requirements. So if to move on to an advanced course, you need a C or better, and you got a D in that transfer course, and that institution does transfer D grades, you're going to have to retake it to get that C to move on. One of the questions most frequently asked, and I'm sure Paul and Heather will agree, is the student will come and sit in front of us and say, so will my credits transfer? And we'll say, yes. What you want to ask is, how will my credits apply to the degree program I'm interested in at your institution? When you're sitting in front of that four-year counselor, that's how you want to pose the question, is how will my credits transfer towards your degree?
Mm-hmm. And it's also completely appropriate to reach out to your four-year institution and say, I'm not going to transfer until next year, but I'm really interested in your chemistry major. So can you help me figure out what I should take next semester at my community college, just to make sure I'm getting the right sciences and the right math? And we can often give you some advice just to make sure that you're taking the right class and really maximizing your time at that two-year campus.
All right. It looks like that covers all of your FAQs. Any other last minute additional information before we go on to the questions from the audience?
No, let's go for it.
Awesome. All right. All right. So my first question here comes from someone asking, do you have to complete the entire 2 years in order to transfer to a four-year college?
No, you don't. Usually, anybody starting at a community college, there is not a requirement for you to complete that associate degree in order to transfer. In fact, if you're doing your homework to the school that you are transferring to, there may be some programs, and it might be a program you're interested in, that would prefer that you transfer after 1 year. Or there are gateway courses that you need to take. I'm going to throw out an example. So we have a social work major. Students going into that social work major have to take Intro to Social Work as a prerequisite for another 2 courses in social work. If they wait for those 2 years in the community college, earn their associate degree, and come in, they cannot take any courses in the major until they have completed those other 3. So that's an additional year of time, plus they've already completed most of their general education, so they really don't have much of a schedule for that next year if they don't plan ahead. So that's, again, you have to reach out to the school that you're interested in transferring to see what would be in the best interest. Plus, it's really up to the individual as to when they feel that they are ready to transfer, or that they need to transfer.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Paul, for that response. I'll move along to our next question. And again, feel free, anyone in the any of the panelists, to answer as you see fit. So this question comes along: if you do dual enrollment during your senior year, how would that affect your transferring to a four-year college?
I'll take that one as well, if that's all right. The university I work for has a very large dual enrollment population. So we have several thousand high school students that are taking our courses. So when you are looking to transfer, if the dual enrollment that you took in high school was not necessarily with the community college that you're attending, you're going to need to provide those transcripts. But with that dual enrollment, you are starting your college career. So you want to take those courses very seriously. And because those are transferable college courses, that when you send that transcript, you can get those courses recorded as transfer credit on your record. So it will help in that transfer to be able to bring in more credits, or perhaps skill requirements based upon the courses that you took during that dual enrollment.
I know at a lot of our institutions, with our incoming even first year population, we see probably 60% or more students coming in with some sort of college credit earned while they're in high school. So that could be that dual enrollment. It might be courses through an AP program or IB program. And so I would say it's actually starting to become the norm that we expect that students coming in, even as first year students, carry some sort of transfer credit with them or college credit earned. I think it can really help you, even if you're starting out at a community college, if you did some courses in high school that were college level, it might maybe then allow you to just maximize 1 year at that community college plus what you did in high school, and then to finish up at your four-year institution. So yeah, there's a real benefit in doing that. We would support it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Moving on to another question. If you don't know what you want to major in yet, is it a good idea to go to a 2-year college, then transfer to 4-year, or is it better to just go to a 4-year right out of high school?
I think looking at a 2-year, it's going to give you a chance to investigate. You'll be able to talk with others. Sometimes that's how you learn majors available. You find out what others are doing. But sometimes the 2-year institutions have more of those tests or surveys that you can take to kind of narrow down the majors that you're interested in. And you don't have to go full-time right away. You could go part-time while you're investigating those things and narrowing things down, and then making sure that the courses you're taking are right. You're still going to need English. You're still going to need math of some kind. So building that coursework up will help you a lot.
One of the things I recommend to students when you start out at your community college is you'll receive information about transfer representatives visiting your college or transfer fairs taking place. And that's when people like us come and set up tables and have publications, and you can just come by and ask questions and maybe even say, like, I don't know what I want to major in, but I really like my business class. What kind of business programs do you have? And, you know, as you're starting to narrow down your choices of major, you're also starting to learn which institutions then offer the 4-year degrees in those areas.
And sometimes you know what you want to do, you know where you want to end up. And so the counselors at the 2-year or the 4-year can help you in that, okay, this is where I want to end up. How do I get there? And so any of us can help you with that path as well.
Excellent. Thank you all for that response. Looking at another question here, someone was asking, and I'm assuming this is in regards to COVID-19 currently, does the transferring process differ if you're taking classes online?
No, in fact, usually when we get a transcript, let's say from your community college, you apply, you send the transcript. In most cases, we will not know if that course was taken in person or if it was taken online, because there is usually not a delineation, because the course that you are taking is the same curriculum as the course that would be offered in person. So, let's say you take Math 104 and you took it online. Well, it's the same Math 104 as what the students on campus are taking. So usually we do not even know if those were online courses.
Excellent. All right. And just another question that came in here that I thought would be a good one for the panelists. Can we take majors as undecided when transferring to a four-year college? And I'm interpreting it as, can we go into a four-year undecided as well, even while transferring?
It's our biggest major.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much. If you're graduating from high school with your associate's degree, is it better to enroll as a first-time student or as a transfer student?
If
You don't
are,
have a choice.
Yeah, if you are just coming out of high school, it doesn't matter if you have some transfer credit or if you have an associate degree. If you are just graduating high school, you are coming in as a new freshman, perhaps a new freshman with transfer credit, but you are not considered, in the way that we process applications, a transfer student, because you are just graduating high school. And I think Linda and Heather probably look at it the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I would say is initially you start out, you're doing a lot of things like your fellow classmates. You're probably attending the summer freshman orientation session. You're registering at the same time as your peers, all those things. You'll probably notice some difference perhaps in your financial aid package because you're able to be packaged for financial aid, maybe coming in as a sophomore or junior. But what you'll really notice is when you go to register for your next semester at the university, all of those transfer credits are going to help you with priority registration. So while your friends who came in with no college credits might be registering in mid-December, maybe you're registering in late November for your classes. So you're going to have a really good chance to get them. And very likely you're not going to be at that university for 4 years. Kind of like Linda said, it may be you have your associate degree, so it's 2 more years, or it might be a variable amount based on your major, but probably most definitely less than 4. Also, good work if you complete an associate degree in high school. That's a lot of hard work. So stop, pause, joy. That's amazing.
Yes, that is very impressive. Just another question here. Do all community colleges have transfer counselors to assist with transferring over to another university?
That's a good question. Because we're only familiar with the community colleges that we work with directly, so the ones in Wisconsin, and I know Linda and Heather have worked with different community colleges in Minnesota as well. Most of those community colleges, as you're working with your academic advisor, that is usually your transfer out person, the person who can help you with that planning. Some community colleges might have a specific transfer out counselor who can assist. And then again, like we've mentioned previously, is to reach out to the school that you're transferring to. Start at your endpoint, work your way back, because they're going to have the best information as far as how courses transfer, how those courses that you're taking are fitting into the program that you're interested in, because they are at that school that you're planning on going to.
A lot of the information that's out there now is really pushing the start here, go there type thing. National conferences that I've been to, and even just information that's out there, white papers on the topic, are gearing more towards the 2-year institutions for sure, having what they call transfer centers to help students through the process, because they're seeing more students starting at the 2-year institution to save money, either by the less cost for the tuition for that institution or being able to stay home and save money that way.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Moving on to another question here. Are there less merit scholarships available if you transfer?
Unfortunately, I would say that is often the case. I think a lot of universities put the bulk of their money for initial scholarships into the first-year student scholarships.
Mhm.
I would say each of us has really advocated on our individual campuses to have scholarship money for transfer students. You know, it'll vary from school to school, but it is possible that you'll see that the transfer scholarships may be a little bit less than what the first-year students receive. Don't let that discourage you, though. Balance that with how much money you're saving during the 1 or 2 years where you're attending your local community college, because sometimes you can be saving half the tuition. You might be paying half as much as your peers who started as first-year students at a 4-year university and maybe got a bigger scholarship, but we're also paying higher tuition.
And I think, like Heather mentioned in her slide, is don't depend upon the university only for those scholarships. There are plenty of other options out there. My daughter is just graduating college. She applied for scholarships through our community foundation and received a 4-year scholarship that paid 40% of her tuition every year that she was in college. So there's other monies available, so do look for those as well.
Excellent. Thank you all so much. Our next question here, how can I start planning my transfer even though I haven't decided which university I want to go to?
That
You know,
makes it a little difficult.
Yes.
Do you want to stay close to home or do you want to get further away from home? That's always one way. I always talk about how the students that come to our university, things change over the summer. Their plans change. They decide after a year that they want to move further away from home. They want to get closer to home. It really varies. And I think sometimes it's just investigating the majors and who offers them and where those institutions are. Go to, like Heather said, the transfer fairs that your institution might have. Things like this, the Go-to-College Fairs, they have booths by different institutions. And like Paul said, do your homework.
Mm-hmm. And I think as you're planning that schedule, often students are just concerned, like, well, what do I take if I don't know where I'm going to transfer to? Keep in mind that a first year is fairly general for everybody. You're going to take your English composition. You're going to take some humanities, some social sciences. If you have an idea, for example, I think I really want some sort of science-based major, they might say, you know, if you're eligible to get into this class, take an initial general chemistry class. Like they can kind of advise you based on where your interests are or just based on requirements of most universities in general education. These are going to be classes that will help you in your program and transfer. And that gives you more time to kind of think about things Linda said, like what kind of school is going to be a good fit for you? A larger school, a smaller school, public, private, close to home, far from home. And during that first year, I know a lot of students, you go to visit your friends, right? And you see their 4-year institution, you think, oh my gosh, I really like this place. And so it might not have even been on your radar, but after spending a weekend with them, you suddenly say, I think I might want to transfer here. So, you know, you can take classes that you know will transfer and work well for you while you're kind of having that exploratory time.
Excellent. All right. Now that does conclude our time for today. I want to thank this opportunity to thank all of our panelists. Thank you so much for answering everyone's question. Your presentation was excellent, and I'm sure everyone in the audience is giving you a virtual round of applause right now. So
Thank you.
you all did a wonderful
Thank you,
job.
Alex. Thanks for helping us out.
You're Alex.
Yes, of course. Now, once again, that does conclude our presentation entitled What I Need to Know About Transferring from Community College to a 4-Year Institution. Remember, you can find this recording on the Navigate 2020 event page. It will be available tomorrow for viewing. Also, just some last minute things. Explore your college options in our virtual college fair. We have hundreds of interactive virtual booths where you can watch videos, download materials, and even chat live with admission representatives from the institutions. You'll also find that some booths have a schedule of their own live stream video presentations. So make sure you visit those as well, or come back another day to see if they're still available. That once again concludes our time. I want to thank one last time all of our panelists. You all did a wonderful, excellent job, even through our little hiccup there, but you all handled that wonderfully, so I appreciate that. And once again, just thank you so much for your time, and I hope you all stay safe and healthy. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.